Looking for a way to unlock the full potential of your digital dentistry workflow? I'm Elise Hifko, Associate Manager of Digital Services with Ivoclar. I'm excited to introduce you to CAM Academy, Ivoclar's new in-person training experience designed specifically for dental technicians. This hands-on course explores the full potential of programmable CAM software, helping you take your digital workflow to the next level. Learn directly from Ivoclar experts, refine your skills, and bring new precision and efficiency to your lab. CAM Academy is more than a course. It's your next step in digital excellence. To reserve your spot, visit the Ivoclar Academy website or contact your local Ivoclar sales representative today.
Welcome to Voices from the Bench, a dental laboratory podcast. Send us an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Greetings and welcome to episode 392 of Voices from the Bench. My name is Elvis.
My name is Barbara, and it's Friday, Elvis.
A much needed Friday indeed.
Oh, finally we're doing this on a Friday instead of an early Saturday morning when I can sleep in and enjoy my coffee. And, not that I mind talking to you, but I do like doing this on Friday.
I'm hard to wake up to. I get it. So when we were out in Texas at the Race for the Future, talking to the other labs, everyone seems a little, I'm not going to say slow or stagnant, but kind of plateaued. How are you? Or how's everything down in Florida?
I know I always say this, but I am so effing busy. I'm tired.
So you're getting all the work.
We're largely Heartland, and they pay almost $100 a unit for our work. So it's not like they're $50 units, but
interesting.
They crank out the interiors. And so I do a lot of smile design, a lot of digital diagnostics, and it's just extremely busy. So I would say we're fortunate, and I'm happy it's Friday because I'm about out of here.
Yeah, even the offices, because I spend a lot of time going into offices all day, and even they seem to be slow, and they're even talking about how slow they are. And I've seen online dentists refer to this as Sucktember.
Really?
It just sucks how
That's
slow
awesome.
September is.
I'm going to use that. I'm feeling that.
Please do.
Suck-tember.
And not just for dentistry.
I know. That's what I was saying. Well, it's my birthday month, so that's kind of sad. But, I do like, sorry. I'm not going to go there. Yeah. PG. So.
They're slow now. We're about to hit that end of the year rush. And I just think, the economy and blah, blah, blah. I think everyone's just a little slow right now. Except for you. Everyone's sending it to Barbara.
All right. So how's the running going? You good?
I'm still running, yeah.
I hurt my knee, so I've been biking. I biked every day this week, so I'm back in hardcore. Thinking maybe I'm going to do a triathlon, Elvis, because I got to cross-train. So I'm going to swim and I'm going to bike until my knee gets better, and then I can start running again. I heard it like 3 days before the race, and I was, your typical athlete. There's nothing wrong. I'm fine. Yeah. But there's definitely something wrong. So I've been icing it, and I got to stop for about a month. So I switched to bike. So hopefully it'll make my ass a little tighter.
What, you'll be back running in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, 3.
Awesome. So last week, Barb, I got to geek out on all things overdentures and implants.
And I know when you say that, you really mean it.
I do. I love this stuff.
I know.
But this week, you got to geek out on all things anterior cosmetic work.
Totally.
Yeah, because Jed Archibald is back on the podcast for the 3rd time, and finally by himself.
And he was awesome.
Jed's known as the guy who puts pretty much everything to the test and really knows what works and what works to make everything better. Jed comes on to give us a brief background on how the family got into dentistry, how he's handling those minimum prep veneers with Empress. His new and improved resins that he's actually developed that's meant for technicians, and his new role at Utah Valley Dental Arts. So join us as we chat with Jed Archibald. Voices from the Bench. The interview. Barb and I are super excited today, and here
You know it's live when you hear Elvis's dogs barking in the background, so that's always a good sign.
Makes it real.
Barb and I are super excited today to welcome back for the third time, but for the first time by himself, Jed Archibald. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. You guys finally had me on enough times that you felt you could trust me to do it by myself.
Well, I don't know about that.
Without supervision, here's Jed.
Yeah. So get ready. Get ready to be let down. Here we go.
No way, Jose.
If there's one thing I've learned over the years doing this podcast, Utah is like a mecca of dental lab people. What's going on in Utah? Can you explain this to me?
I don't know what happened there. Well, I will say that Utah is a fantastic place to visit. Anytime you try to do a course or an event in Utah, there's absolutely no trouble at all filling seats. Just because we have a little bit of everything. We feel very fortunate here in Utah, especially if you're kind of a family person. It's very family oriented and it's just fun. There's something for everybody in Utah. We have the most diversity, right? You can head west and you can go out to like the Salt Flats where it seems like you're on Star Wars, or you can go down south to John Wayne country, or you can go up in the mountains and feel like you're in the Alps. And it's just wild that we have all these things essentially at your fingertips kind of in one state.
So just refresh my memory. Were you born and raised in Utah, or did you just move there?
I was born, well, a little bit of both. I was born and raised in Utah, and I lived for a little bit with my mother in Las Vegas and then in LA for a little bit, and then came back to Utah in my teens.
Wow.
And so a little bit of both.
Well, I mean, we know your dad. He's pretty famous in this whole industry, working with Gordon Christensen. I mean, we're not going to spend too much time on him. We had him on another episode. What did your mom think of all this dental stuff? Was she in the business?
Wow, what a cool question. So she was not in the business, but she was actually a little bit of the catalyst to my father getting in the business. So when they got together, my mom's dad, so grandpa, he saw that my dad, John, was really good with his hands and tinkering, even though he's got hands like, the
big
Jolly
giant
Good
hands.
Yeah. I mean, kind of an oxymoron, but he was really good with his hands. And he's like, you know what, Johnny? He's like, I feel like you might be really good as a dental technician. So they kind of scoped out a few dental schools and they found a good one for him, and off he went. So there is a little bit of a connection there. But other than that, my mom, like probably most wives, probably has a little bit of a love-hate relationship with.
Oh God, my mom did.
Industry,
Yep.
Right. The industry kind of has a way of kind of sucking you in.
How did Grandpa know about it?
Dental tech. Oh, sorry, I left that out. So he was a dentist. Believe it or not. So he was a dentist. He was a really, really kind of an interesting guy. I mean, so he went through dental school and he set up shop there in Las Vegas, and he did very, very well. And, he was one of the first, kind of with the early kind of establishers down there in Las Vegas, to the point where I believe the bank, if I remember the story right, the bank that they used, their account number was like 0006 or something. That was their account number. And
my number.
Yeah, so that was back when Las Vegas was definitely a small town. But so he was a great dentist down there and part of the community, and just a stand-up guy. So that's how he knew about it.
So he was the one to give you the nudge, eh?
He was the one that kind of steered Papa John in the direction and got this whole crazy show off and going.
Dang.
And he was pretty much doing it your whole life, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. like most fathers, he was doing it my whole life. He had a couple jobs coming out of school a little bit, and he saw an ad in the paper from a certain Gordon Christensen looking for a dental technician. He was coming out of the Air Force at the time, not the Air Force, but the military, kind of working off your school debt through that. And he saw that and he's like, well, I want to get back to Utah. And he came up here and that's how they met. And, they'd had did a little audition case where he just did a case for him on the spot, and that was it.
So was he like a lifelong technician with Gordon? Was he his
Yes.
lifelong technician? Is he still? He's not working anymore, is he? Not your dad, but Gordon.
Oh, yes, they are. They both are.
Both
They're
of
like,
them
Got to be
are.
kidding
yeah,
me.
they're both in that creepy. They might be alien category because they're still working. They won't quit. You
Oh
just
my
wonder one
God.
day. Yeah, you're just going to get a note one day like, I got beamed up to the mothership. Um,
They haven't blinked in 3 days, but they're still working.
That's pretty fascinating. So they're still together.
they're still together. Gordon mainly does education, and so cases that he does are revolving around education because his son Will
Yep.
bought the practice, and this is probably maybe 20 to 25 years ago. He bought the practice and is running and does great. So Will does the actual clinical work, and Gordon really is only supposed to do patient work if it's essentially around education and stuff, just to be fair to the practice.
He's probably like, let me in there. Let me in there.
Oh, I mean, you can't stop that guy. It's crazy.
No, that's pretty impressive. And your dad, too. The fact that they've had that relationship that long, which I don't know how, I don't think your dad's all that old. So I'm not trying to be, negative, but I know Gordon Christensen. He's, been around a long time.
Yeah, they're you probably wouldn't put them in the spring chicken category. But, I mean, they both are doing what they love. I know
Yeah.
there was a phase there where I was trying to think of different ways to help my dad kind of retire or semi-retire. And I finally got to the point of, I came to the realization that, you know what, he's happy doing this.
Yeah.
Why am I trying to push him a different direction? If he's happy, he's happy. And so, you let him be.
Yep. Love it.
And you
So
went
cool.
off and did your own thing, right?
Yeah.
Is this where you kind of left and started your own, the Archibald Digital?
Yeah. Revise us on that story.
Okay, so this was about 2006. And I had grown up with us, always been kind of looked at as kind of the crazy people who were the first through the wall, the first to kind of test and evaluate stuff and not just look at stuff in the IFU way, but, evaluate it from IFU ways and also see if there are missed opportunities with any material or process.
Mm.
And that's kind of what Gordon and my dad were known for. And so as digital really was taking off in the 2000s, it went from being kind of like this weird gimmicky crew that you'd see down in Chicago. And I don't mean that disparagingly, but it was just kind of like, oh,
True.
there's those four dentists with white Cerac t-shirts hugging each other. It went from that to really like it was a real conversation. And really at that time, at 2006, everyone I knew who was really a really well-established, a really well-trusted technician or clinician was not happy with digital and the results that digital was giving. And I proposed the question, it's not about what people are doing with digital, but it's what could you do with digital technology? Yeah. And that's what I wanted to find out. And so they were very concerned for my future by kind of taking that leap and investing and really just using my capital just for curiosity's sake to see if it could hold up to classic standards.
So back then you were all jazzed for digital and they were both saying, you might not want to do that.
Yeah, they were both saying that they had their concerns, even though they're fans of advancement. They had their concerns just by what you would see out there.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I think it's pretty profound. What you said is what can you do with digital?
Yes.
So you kind of took control of that whole way of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, and at that time I was a lot younger than I am now, but at that time I knew I had a longer career ahead of me, and for my own future, that it was something that I needed to investigate and figure out. Whether I adopted or not was unknown, but I needed to thoroughly vet it out, just like we've done anything else in dentistry. And so that's where Archibald Digital was kind of born. And as with everyone, a lot of headaches, a lot of pain points, learning curves, late nights, and a lot of back and forth of like, well, I mean, that's, maybe we can go all digital in these areas, but maybe we need a little hybrid of both in certain areas where you do a little digital, a little analog, and try to find where the sweet spot is, where, at a certain point, technology is just another tool.
Yeah. So at that time, what part of it were you doing digital? Were you learning to design? Obviously you were learning to design, but what else?
Yeah, it's the same. So the same process that I try anytime a technician is wanting to get into it, it's the same process that I went just for financial safety. Really, is your biggest learning curve, and the best thing you can do to control your identity, your brand,
Yeah.
is to take control of design.
Hmm.
You can send files a million places to have a million different people make them, and yeah, some may be good, some may be bad, but 80% of the control is in your brain. And if you can get that in design, then you're tackling that. And that's also kind of the biggest learning curve, right?
Right.
And so everything after that is kind of like, it's a little nuancy for everything after that, as far as maybe it's more convenient to bring in a mill. Is it financially better to bring in a mill? You can go back and forth on that, because you look at what we offer for milling, you look at what Argon offers for milling, and it's like, gosh, the ROI on a mill in house is maybe not as great as the convenience of having a mill in house. And so that's the same process I try to help other technicians and advise. It's like, you don't have to go buy everything, right? You don't have to go get a big loan and leverage yourself and hope your 5 accounts stay with you. You can just start with digital, start with design, start there and get that under your belt. And if that is all you need, like if outsourcing from there is all you need, great. You just saved yourself a ton of headache.
Yeah, you do.
If you feel like,
True.
if you feel like you can't get what you need from outsourcing partners, or you have maybe higher demands as far as time frames, or maybe you want a little more control as far as playing around in green state. Okay, well, then those are valid arguments to think about bringing it in-house at the appropriate time, but it's not an all or nothing approach.
Speaking of design, what do you use? Which software do you prefer?
What do you like best? That's a tough question, we know.
Well, I'm a victim of being very busy. So I got very good at 3Shape.
Sure.
And when you say very good at 3Shape, you're very good at workarounds in 3Shape, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
3Shape, when you're talking about single units, it's the king. You're not going to beat it there. But when you start getting into larger processes, maybe some combination cases, some of your bigger implant cases, veneers, minimal prep dentistry, things like that, it's almost like the software is too smart for its own good. And it stumbles over itself. And you got to trick it. People that know the tricks tend to not leave 3Shape, and people that can't find the tricks tend to abort and go ExoCAD, because ExoCAD is just, it's more free, right? It's less guided. It's just kind of like, whatever you put in the order for them, I kind of don't care. You're going to have access to all the tools.
Yeah.
And, you figure it out on your way, where 3Shape tries to kind of automate and simplify things for a little more of a production sense. So depending on what you put in the order form may dictate what tools you have access to. And that generally is where you start to see a lot of the issues come up. So if you know how to get around it, it's a wonderful platform, a wonderful tool. And ExoCAD is a wonderful platform, wonderful tool. And, Blender has its benefits, and, and even companies like Medit, who are doing these little app-based modules, like some of those are impressive, and they have their place at the right time.
So I'm just curious, as a ceramist and not a designer, you talk about the minimal prep veneers. What is the workaround? Because I know it's kind of like 8/10. How do you force it into making a thinner design so that you can press it? Is that a workaround?
It's more of a pick your poison I talk about.
Yeah.
So you can go as thin as the 8/10 thick is usually referring to the manufacturing process when you get into milling.
Right.
And, if people who know me know I'm not a huge advocate for milling lithium disilicate or other
Pressing.
substrates.
Correct.
Yeah, there is a product that is, I think, a secret sleeper out there, which is Empress Multi. Most people don't know that it still is available.
I use it. Yep.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's glass, right?
Yeah.
And really, when you talk about an Emax veneer, let's say an Emax veneer, your average lab out there is doing an Emax veneer. If they're a good lab, right? Emax veneer is going to be maybe, let's say, $300 to $400, just rough range, that they'll sell an Emax veneer for. A feldspathic veneer, a hand-laid feldspathic veneer, is probably going to be the 600 to 900 range. There are some guys doing like 1,200 for a full feldspathic veneer.
Maybe in Utah, but not out here in Indiana.
Well, not in Utah, but there are, because when you get into feldspathic,
Wow.
you're getting
Yeah.
kind of the legends of the
Yeah,
industry.
sure.
Big time.
It's definitely a big range. Now, the Empress Multi, as far as what you deliver in a product, you can do it CAD, you can mill it, you can polish it and it's beautiful, or you can start staining and glazing and it just gets better. But it is closer in an end product to a feldspathic veneer than it is an Emax veneer.
Totally
Interesting.
agree.
And
Interesting.
so
Totally agree.
Yep. And so with very little different process compared to a milled Emax, you can almost double, essentially. You can, 50% to 100% up your price for the product. And so, because it's worth it. It's worth it. It's absolutely stunning and almost makes you feel bad how easy it is. So that's a product where I really am a fan of milling. It's great. I love it. But for veneers, minimal prep veneers, if I want to do lithium silicate, which I love doing, I do print to press. And so if I do print to press, I can design a 5/10 thick veneer.
Yeah.
I have a 0.1 margin thickness on that thing.
Ooh.
And I know I can, because it's pressed and the crystals are formed to my shape,
Right.
I can easily thin that thing down to 3/10 in spots and not have an issue ever.
Yeah.
So the workaround to that really is kind of the post-processing as far as 3D printing with good casting and pressing resin and having good technique there. And that makes that very easy. And then, the pick your poison part of that is just with your inapproximable margins.
Yeah.
Because we do need a little bit of thickness just to make sure they hold up through pressing. And those margins, they're sometimes touching depending on how the doctor preps veneers. And so you have kind of these overlapping margins, but that's not a big deal. You just finish your margin before you start seeding and doing contacts. It's kind of a different order of process, but that's a fantastic way to do it. In worst case scenario, you design things, you may have a spot or a blob or a corner that you need to press 5/10 thick, knowing you're going to take it down to 3/10 or even 2/10. Just don't tell anybody.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
That's the workaround.
that's the workaround. You can easily see that in the design. And,
for sure.
And that's very easy to get from point A to point B. Where you start having issues is people who are trying to get to a done finished product right from the printer, right from the pressing, or right from the mill to the mouth in a minimal or no prep situation. That's just unrealistic, right? I mean, until robots are prepping or taking impressions, that's unrealistic.
I think that comes down to your communication with the doctor. And if you guys have a really good relationship, you're kind of like, that's not going to work. And I feel like nowadays doctors are more open to listening to our suggestions than they used to be. And so you kind of have that conversation with them and they say, all right, I'm going to go in there and prep a little bit. But before it was always like, just do it. And darn well it's going to break or it's not going to make it out the door or the margin's going to chip. But I don't know. I think clinicians are getting better too and more open-minded than they used to be.
I would agree with you 100%, Barb. I think I'm actually very excited at this kind of phase of our industry because we've gone through a little bit of turmoil where we've had technology and companies and sales, and it's I don't think it was necessarily intentional, but
right.
It seems like the industry has kind of tried to divide us a little bit, clinician to technician. And now I think everyone has realized, like, you know what, we need a team, we need each other, and that's just the best way to do dentistry. To my point earlier,
agree.
Like the workaround. I mean, the workaround situation, like I see a lot of times people who say they can 3D print veneers and they just go in and they don't have to do anything, and it's like, okay, sure. But
okay, chuckle a little bit.
It's like, yeah, you can, if you want, you can harm the patient too. But the thing is, there are little things that we can do as technicians or clinicians that can vastly improve the end result. One of them being finishing margins. And nothing can be printed or milled to a completely finished margin unless it's prepped and designed so. And the simple step of printing a single die and finishing down your margin to that die is the difference between a 5-year restoration and a 20-year restoration, right? And that is the difference between having gingivitis and not. And, so it's like, yeah, you can see something without finished margins, but, I'm going to prefer to finish my margins. I'm sorry. And that's not a big deal. It takes me a few seconds. It's not hard. It's not like I'm, having to get out a big greenstone and then go down to 4 different wheels. Like, no, I'm a white pumice stone away from a finished margin. So it's not a big deal.
So you're talking like to the audience, like right now, when you're talking about leaving a thick margin and seating something that's got a lip on it, or versus going down and really finishing it to a nice knife edge where the tissue responds and you've got, 20 years of healthy versus the tissue kind of rejecting that thickness.
Yep, 100%. And that's the thing is if you are a hygienist and you're cleaning someone's mouth and you have one of those nice sharp explorers, our goal as a technician and clinician team is to have them with that tip be able to run up and down past the margin of any of our restorations, crowns or veneers, and have it be seamless, have them not feel it. If you can't feel it, bacteria can't find it.
Yep.
Here's the dumb question. Why can't digital get it there? Is it just too small?
Well, digital can get it. So that's a great question. So digital can get it there. But the question is humans are in the mouth prepping and touching. And I do not criticize clinicians because I don't know if you've had a chance to work in the mouth. It's like kind of like being a combat medic.
Not the easiest, right?
I couldn't imagine. Even if I have to help hold a lip. I'm like, I don't know how you people do this. I can feel the breath.
Yeah, there's blood, there's water. You're looking through a little teeny mirror. You have a contra angle. It's actually extremely hard sometimes to visualize the shape of your prep and the margin just because it is a organic, translucent-like material, your tooth. All that is very troubling and hard. And so just to get something pressed or milled or printed, it needs to have some measure of thickness.
Yeah, got it.
If there's a spot on that margin that doesn't have that minimum amount of thickness, then you're going to have to hand finish it back.
Yeah,
that's it. So, but if someone could prep a nice mechanical 360-degree shoulder margin around, yes, you could print, mill, or press something that wouldn't necessarily need a finished margin, but you'd still want to polish it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And if a dentist out there can do that, I want to let them know about my lab. Please send me work.
There's a plug.
And that's why you need a lab. We got away from that a little bit with CEREC and their what is, quote unquote, what is relevant dentistry.
Yeah.
And we saw our standards and statistics drop dramatically in the U.S. There's no doubt about it. It's just facts from that narrative. And so, so we have quote unquote clinical relevant dentistry, and then we have classic dentistry, which has doubled to triple the lifespan.
Which I like the fact that they're starting to go back to that, because I come from a large lab and sometimes you see just over prepped teeth, and it makes me kind of sad. And I like the fact that they're going back to, hey, you can be conservative and you can either mill it or you can press it, but you can still be conservative because we've got a product for you. And I think that benefits the patient more than anything. And I definitely see that coming back. I mean, I got a lot more questions from doctors now saying, hey, can you do a conservative prep versus them just going at the teeth? And that's just, for me as a ceramist, I feel bad for the patient. So I think that I would definitely agree with you that is moving in the right direction.
Like I said, I can't be more encouraged by a lot of the dynamics I'm seeing in dentistry right now.
Yeah.
We've gone from kind of having a little bit of a dark doomsday cloud in various sectors to I feel like everyone kind of sees more of a similar clear path.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're kind of getting rid of the noise and getting back to having fun and doing good work.
I like that quote, getting rid of the noise and just getting back to the basics and doing things right.
Yeah. Quote by Jed. Go for it.
Yeah, we know, Elvis. That's happening.
Oh, yeah, of course. So I've noticed recently, social media, somewhere where I spend a little bit of time.
No,
You're doing
no
a lot
time.
of with ZirCAD Prime. Tell me about it. I mean, I know Barb speaks highly of the product.
For sure.
And Ivoclar is an interesting company, and they've been celebrating their 20-year EMAX celebration, and there's probably been some videos you've seen out there with that.
Yeah.
Little bit.
They need to be celebrating Empress. I mean, you're talking highly of that. Nobody even talks about it anymore.
I think we're going back to that. Yeah.
Right? I mean, well, we should go back. Well, I mean, before we move forward, a little side food for thought. I'd like to hear from any of your audience, if they could poll their clinicians, how many Empress have they had break?
Yeah.
I bet it's slim to none. And it's probably still their favorite material. And it's, you look at the MPA of it and stuff, and that's where I'm like, are we kind of in a little bit of an MPA fetish these days? I don't know.
But nobody talks about it. Even Ivoclar doesn't push it.
It's a hidden gem, and I encourage, like I said, for those that financial laboratory reasons, it is worth looking into.
Oh, hell yeah.
But Ivoclar is so interesting because they, back in, I believe it was like 2000, what was it? It was 2005, 2002.
I was thinking 3 or 4. Yeah. Somewhere
3 or 4,
around there.
they were kind of going from, they were in the Xenostar days. But then about 2015, they came out with MT Multi. And MT Multi was so unique because we went from a single composition of zirconia, single composition meaning single translucency or single type as far as what type of zirconia is. They can be, it can be multicolor or not multicolor, it doesn't matter, but it's a single type, right? It's a single kind of zirconia. Now they have MT Multi, which was a 60-40 split of, 4Y zirconia, which is kind of like, that's a 4Y, like Argon HD Plus is a neat version of 4Y, to the top part being 5Y, which is like Bruxer anterior, right? And so this was a
higher number, lower translucency. Is that how it works?
Yttrium.
Yeah,
More
just
yttrium.
Just because science wants to keep you on your toes, it kind of it flips you. So it's the yttria content, which makes it more translucent and less strong. So it's kind of a little bit of a dynamic to wrap your head around.
Okay.
But yeah, so essentially you're going from low trans to high trans, more strong to less strong. And it was a product that every company out there, I remember because I had conversations with different companies where they'd come up to me and be like, how can Ivoclar do this? Because they're like, it's not going to work. It should not work for, a whole myriad of reasons. And, but they were the first through the wall in that area.
Yep.
And it was a hit product, right? But they had smart indications for it, right? They said, because this is this combination material, they didn't want you doing anything more than a 3-unit bridge with it, right?
Yeah, which I honestly think is genius. I mean, if they come out and say, hey, we have this really special product, but you've got to go to these parameters, and that makes everybody successful. That's what I really respect about Ivoclar. I love that.
Yep. Well, and I mentioned that because I'm going to circle back to that because it's funny how things have changed. But so from the MT Multi days, Ivoclar kind of refined and they kind of worked out the kinks and they learned a few things and they really worked on processes. And that's how they came out with this product Prime, which is a completely stable version of that theory.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people look at Prime and the gradient translucent technology, and they look at that as an aesthetic advantage. And they're kind of like, well, we're splitting hairs, tomato. But no, the genius of it is it's a mechanical stability. So when you combine two different zirconias together, they sinter at different times in the sintering oven, or AKA they shrink at different times in the sintering oven. Right. And you can actually cause a little bit of mechanical tension and you can cause some warpage.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it would work.
That's exactly right. That's what every company said, right? But that's why Ivoclar said, you know what, this does work as long as it's single unit to 3-unit bridges.
Right.
But they figured out a way to essentially speed up one part of the zirconia and slow down another part of the zirconia and have them work perfectly together so they actually sinter at the same time creating a completely stable material with no tension, no warpage. You can layer it however you want. You can stain and glaze it, whatever. And that is completely revolutionary. And as far as I found, and I've tested as many zirconia as I can get my hand on, as far as I found, no one else has had that same formulation or been able to fix that problem. And so every company out there right now who is offering a multi-translucent zirconia, and they can feel free to show up and yell at me. Whatever, we don't care. I don't care. We have the picture, we have the data. They know it as well as I do, is what's funny too. But the thing is everyone else's multi-translucent zirconia is exactly the same thing as MT Multi. It has the same problem. It should have the same indications, but they don't. They're playing the numbers game of how many will and may break because we're doing so many all on X type cases in the US. We're not doing little thimble frameworks where it would really go up. We're doing these big, massive hockey pucks, and they're playing the numbers. So instead of saying good for 1 to 3 units, they're saying, yeah, go ahead, do a 14-unit bridge.
Yeah, and good luck with the fit.
And you know what? If it makes it to the patient, I don't mean to freak people out. If it makes it to the patient, you're good to go. You're good to go. But there are a lot of labs out there where they've gotten a restoration, they get to the end, they may be staining and glazing it, or they may be polishing it, and they drop it, and they drop it from 1 inch. They've thrown it across the room 100 times, it's fine. And they drop it for 1 inch off the table, and they hear like a little tuning fork pinging sound.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's in 2 pieces. Well, that is mechanical tension being released.
Yeah.
And is that breaking right where the Y's meet? Is that what you're talking about? No?
Nope. There's just generalized mechanical tension horizontally between the two because they're kind of like sandwiched together, one on top of the other, and they're not playing well together.
But you got to know it's always going to be there, whether it makes it out of the lab or not. Longevity-wise, that's like ingrained in the material.
It is part of an ingrained.
Possibly, I should say. I don't want to make anybody crazy right now on this podcast.
Yeah,
you might need to delete that part. But
I have 80 of them in mouths right now. I'm freaking out.
I know from me and some of my crazy cohorts who have pushed the limits with MT Multi.
Yeah.
With the intention of having records and recalls and making the patient come back and checking in.
Yeah.
Pushing the limits just to see, what that recall limit might be. So far, we found that if it makes it to the patient, you're okay.
Cool.
But the warpage and the tension through materials is dramatic and across the board. And so that's why with Prime and Prime Aesthetic, with their gradient technology being mechanically stable, I go with it. Yeah. I mean, is Ivoclar maybe a little higher price tag than others, especially for a small guy like me? Yeah. But I don't want to have to redo my work. I don't want to spend a week working on a big, huge restoration and then have it break at glaze like that. That's not fun for me. I don't care. I'd rather have something that I do the work once and I'm done.
Doesn't that fascinate you how their R&D research is at Ivoclar, though?
I absolutely love it. I love it, and
that's got to geek you out, right?
Oh, I do. I love it. I wish I could. If I could somehow feed my family just doing that all the time, I would. But for some reason, there's it's not in the cards for me here. But the funny thing about Ivoclar, and I'm going to be honest here, is I just don't feel like they're very good at tooting their own horn, because this drives me nuts. Right? They have, like we just talked about, they have Empress CAD Multi, a legitimate gold mine, and you never hear about it. You have MT Multi, which was revolutionary. We didn't really hear about it being revolutionary. You have Prime being a whole new generation and a whole new revolution, and we're still kind of, people are still kind of figuring it out, and there's a lot of people who feel like all zirconia is the same, and it's like, man, there's so many varieties, but Ivoclar is almost 2 steps ahead of everybody, and they need to be maybe a little better about being prideful, I guess, so to speak. Maybe that's it.
So we use Empress Multi at my lab, and I always suggest, hey, if you don't have any functional...
Too?
Oh, yeah. So, but my thought is, if you don't have any functional issues, if your patient's just good to go and they want to do it for aesthetics, it just always, I mean, it just beats out everybody, in my opinion. It's just beautiful. It photographs beautifully. It's the most natural looking. So yes, Elvis, we still use it. I'll recommend it. I mean, if it's somebody that's beating the hell out of their teeth and you got to open their bite and you open the vertical and you're worried about longevity, maybe not. But if it's just aesthetics and they want to improve their smile, absolutely. Would you agree with me?
I 1000%. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a joy to work with, and it is a secret weapon. And especially if you're looking at it from a clinician's point of view, clinicians these days are looking at getting into doing in-house zirconia and even doing in-house lithium disilicate, even though they've gotten used to it. It's like, that's a process. You got to design it, you got to mill it, you got to crystallize it. And those getting into the zirconia stuff, I kind of laugh at that a little bit.
I'm like, God help them.
I look at it from the end product, and then also from the patient waiting in the chair. I'm just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And then you have a product like Empress Multi, beautiful product, really reliable, really trusted. And for a clinician, they can just polish that thing, and it would arguably look better than a lot of work that I see being done out there. It's just a fantastic product for.
You don't have to crystallize it or anything?
No.
Oh, I didn't
Nope.
know that.
You cut that sucker off the block, seed it, glaze it, you're done.
Yeah, it looks.
Well, you do the margins and everything. I'm not saying half-ass it, but yeah. It's unbelievable.
We do our veneers, and I don't know about you, Barb, but we mill that at 5/10 thick with a 0.12 thickness margin.
Oh yeah, gotta have
Empress Multi, and that's
and then it'll melt.
Yes,
Yep.
if you need something thinner than that, I don't know what you're doing in the patient's mouth. But.
Yeah, thank you. And I honestly don't it doesn't bother me to thin down a margin. I think it's kind of one of those soothing sort of things that a technician does. They just kind of take the wheel and thin it down. Yeah. I might love what I do. But
yeah.
It doesn't bother me one iota.
It's funny. I mean, with our conversation, we've focused a lot on Empress Multi.
Yep.
That's funny. Maybe you guys ought to ask for a royalty as the sales.
Elvis will, not me.
Well, you should.
Good at that.
I just find it weird that nobody ever talks about Empress. You go to the show, there's not a section for it. It's just, I don't know. I honestly thought it was dead. I thought it was gone.
And until now, I guess it's mine and Barb's little secret.
Yes.
There you go.
I'm good with that. But I think that you represent a very skilled, higher-end echelon of technicians that really understand that doctors can still use these products and have a really great result, and the patient's doing backflips. And honestly, they're just beautiful. So I think there's still a place in the world for it. Yes, Elvis. Sincerely.
You mentioned printing wax and then pressing. I know a lot of people have issues printing the wax, I've heard, or whatever you end up really printing. I don't think it's wax, but what do you use? Well,
I'm happy and a little shameless that you're going to ask, but I use my own resin. Wait
a minute, you made your own resin?
Yeah. So
I saw that.
How the hell does somebody make their own resin?
Well, you just, what you do is you get dropped a few times as a baby, and then you have a lot of and Skittles at night, and all of a sudden you tap into a part of your brain you never saw before. But
wow, that was a great answer.
Thank you.
Looks bad about your parents, but
sometimes it feels like that as a technician. But no, so. Well, Archibald Digital has evolved. I went from kind of figuring out digital to teaching about digital, and through teaching, I had more equipment and testing new equipment all the time that I could take care of with clients. I can only do so much as a technician myself, and I had an abundance of technology around me, and I thought about what could I do with this, and so we started outsourcing to other high-end technicians and helping them so they could lean on us as they were trying to grow their business and find their way, and we could give them the best materials and use the best processes, and it would keep all the equipment moving, right? Which is what you want in any business.
Interesting. So you were a milling center for high end
Yeah.
You don't hear about this, usually it's like a milling center and they're just cranking out units and they're $40 each, but you cater to that high end. That's very interesting.
We can't. Well, I mean, I'm passionate about it, right? And
Yeah,
then
I like it.
and it and really, it's all process driven. And when you get things figured out, you get it figured out, and you're not having to do a lot of hand messing around when it comes to manufacturing side. It's just have good tools, good materials, and good process, and let people have access to it. And so it keeps the machines busy, and I can kind of take advantage of that situation I'm in. And through that, as we got into 3D printing, 3D printing was kind of just a little bit of a hot mess for everybody. But I've actually been into 3D printing for, not like some people, but I've been into it for a little over than 15 years as kind of a geek myself. I just love the industry. And so to see it come into dentistry and come in the way it had, it was fun to see it hit dentistry, but then also I saw it stagnate very quickly as far as the technology goes. And that's just because, dental companies in general, they don't get to move very fast because they're large companies. Things have to get run through the FDA. And so we'd have, essentially a 3D printer that was relevant 3 years prior, hit the market.
Yeah.
Interesting.
3D printing technology has been evolving almost every 6 months since it hit the market.
Yeah.
And by the time we're seeing what's on the market, they're great machines. I don't mean to disparage them at all.
Yeah.
They're great machines and great technology, but we've progressed and moved on so far in 3D printing outside of dentistry that it really was frustrating for me. And so I kept playing around with, okay, what can we do with this great technology? Not what's being done out there. And so that involved me, playing around with a lot of your off-brand, quote unquote, hobby printers or popcorn printers, because they have the little hood that comes off. And it's funny because it's easy to discount them because they're easy to poke fun at by the way they look on the outside.
Yeah.
But what most people don't understand is the basic technology inside. The guts are quite brilliant. They're simple and brilliant, and they deliver better results in many situations. And so I got into kind of trying to push 3D printers to be better. And then, I found that there was a lot of lacking that we needed as far as classic technicians on the resin side. I'm sick of model resins that are kind of translucent and shiny and look like a frickin' McDonald's toy.
Yeah.
And I have my choice between either like this, I call like Porky the Pig pink color, a nice mustard yellow, and then like a dark gray. And I'm like, what are we doing?
They're so
here?
ugly.
I'm like, what is the deal? Like, we're dealing with ceramics and glass and art and beauty, and this doesn't match. This isn't what we need. I want classic things. I want classic tools. I want to be able to work on models that feel and look like stone. And so we played around with it quite a bit. And Dr. McLaren and myself, we vetted a lot of companies and a lot of resins out there, and we found some great things. But ultimately, it kind of led to me just kind of making my own resin. And so we started making model resin and, never looked back. And we love it and support that.
What colors did you go with?
Well, so we're starting off with I went with the crowd pleaser, which is, we call it white sand. And it's very matte. It's very opaque. It's as stone-like as you can get right now. There's a few tweaks in the pipeline, but it's a very, very light buff color. So you could probably equate it more to like a very opaque, like a bleach 4-ish kind of color.
Oh, interesting.
So not, how sometimes they say something is ivory and it's yellow.
Yeah.
So it probably is closer to what you would expect ivory to be. And so we're starting there and definitely coming out with a line of variations of that, something that we like to see as far as ceramics and like to work on, because you don't want to work on a model or hand a case to a patient that is veneers, beautiful veneers, and you don't want to have it look ugly, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to hand them a nice, dark gray model and, hey, here's your veneers. Like, well, why is
it's so
everything
bad.
gray?
Yeah.
It looks horrible. And on the counterpart, you don't want to hand them something that's pure white. I've been burned by that too, where a doctor's showing a patient the case.
They're like, why aren't my veneers that white?
Exactly. So they'd be bleach 2 or bleach 3 veneers on a white model, and they look yellow.
Oh,
And the patient freaks out. And so you want to have a little color, so you're not hurting yourself
got
in
it.
as much. You want to have contrast so you can see contours, and you don't want it to make your ceramic look ugly. And
Interesting.
it shouldn't be that hard of an ask. And honestly, as I met with R&D teams and talking to a few companies about that, I kind of got a little bit of the same response, that they, as companies and as a vision, they felt like they were going to kind of double down investment and resources towards more your clinical application resins, meaning more the resins that go in the mouth. And
You charge more for it.
Wow.
and that's the funny thing. You charge more for it per liter, but how many teeth can a doctor get out of a liter?
Well said.
I could see right through that. I'm like, oh, they're not going to get the ROI. And I honestly think that's a little bit of the reason why Sprint went with the Midas formula. It's not necessarily technology, but for 1 crown, you're going to go through a capsule, which is going to be essentially about 10 crowns.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you look at the volume usage. So I think they're probably solving that problem for themselves, which is good for them. But the thing is they felt like their money was best spent looking farther in the future to clinicians and the patient. And that's great, good for them. But we still had a need as technicians to do our job. And I want to use technology and I want to use good stuff. So I saw an opening in the road there and took it. So we have our model resin. We have a really soft, a true 60 Shore silicone-like resin that is, a little translucent. I call it ruby. And we have our lavender cast. And the cool thing about newer resins is because we're getting into plant-based resins instead of these old traditional resins that are very high VOC, very stinky. They give you headaches.
Oh,
and
God, I know.
headaches,
So
right?
gross. Yep.
So now we're into plant-based, which are little to no odor. And with our lavender cast, we played with it for a while. So it's infused with lavender oil.
Shut up,
So,
really?
so when you 3D
Crazy.
so when you 3D print with it, your printer kind of turns into a diffuser.
And everyone's
And
like,
now
I'm
you're-
kind
I
of
was
calm.
just going to say that. I've got lavender.
And
in
now
my
your lab
freezer.
feels like a spa,
Oh,
So,
my God, that's crazy.
so
I was
we
thinking the
just
same thing.
we just like having fun. And
That's fun.
the castable was interesting as I kind of tested a lot of the castable resins out there. I was really surprised at what was being sold, because I kind of found what you said, Elvis, that just they were not good. Like not just not good, but not even close to good.
Yeah, I heard a lot of
And
people
I'm
struggle.
how did this make it out of R&D? Did they get one successful casting from this? I'm not sure. I'm like, I can't get one, and I can usually make anything work. And so I was kind of surprised. So we offer that through Archibald Digital 3D resin, and we're taking it slow as a company. I've seen a lot of the printing companies, they usually falter because they push it out the same way they did mills. They just kind of mass throw it out there and hope that the sales teams can figure it out.
Yeah.
And with 3D printers, it's just not like that. It's too new and nuancy of a subject still, that there's not enough tools or information for sales and service teams to comfortably help us as technicians migrate into that space and help their staff. And so we kind of take it a little bit one customer at a time, or we have been for the past 2 years, and kind of making sure we've vetted out our own process, but also making sure that each and every customer is settled and satisfied before we feel like kind of throwing out an ad and maybe getting another customer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And these are serious customers. These are high-end techs. I mean, you're not playing. So to make us happy, or I consider myself us, that's a big deal.
They definitely are your more scrutinizing customers. They're
exactly.
They're not customers doing $100 crowns. Let's say
Right.
that.
Right.
So having something that works efficiently and at a high level is a premium.
Mm-hmm.
That's a premium. So we do that, and I'm happy if people want to give it a go and try. I love helping people in that space, because it's a geeky topic for me. It's something that I kind of secretly love, and I get to talk about professionally now. So it's really fun.
Pretty impressive.
There's nothing like not liking the material out there, so you just make your own. I
Right.
mean, you just can't beat
Yeah.
that.
Well, I've always kind of been that. I'm a very practical person. I'm of the mindset where if you can buy it, you're probably better off just buying it and using it. But at the same time, being the person who's up late at night with Rockstar and Skittles, if I can't buy what I need, I'm going to figure out a way to make it.
That's awesome. So before we sign off, we have to talk about before we even started recording.
Oh, yeah. And that was fun.
Mr. Jim Thacker jumped online to say hello because you're now at Utah Valley Art. What is it? Utah Valley Arts?
Utah Valley Dental?
Utah Valley Dental Lab, UVDL.
Yeah, Utah Valley Dental Lab.
I am here. This is something that is 100% brand new, still in its infancy. You should see the office right now. You would swear I'm just doing like a hands-on course right now. It's, half my stuff is still in little crates and bins. I still have my shop. I still have my place of my space there. And Archibald Digital is still its own entity.
Mm-hmm.
Archibald Digital Resin still its own entity. It's still its own nucleus, and I have my good partner Cody that's running that and making sure everything's good. And he's a rock star. But as far as my technician work and as far as my caseload and my patients, I came across this little opportunity, and it really kind of found both of us here. So Utah Valley had a little opening in management, and I'm not really kind of a management type person, as you can probably tell. I'm a little more of break a few eggs kind of guy. Yeah. But I had been over here. The past couple of years because they're actually one of our resin customers as well.
Oh,
and
really?
I'm not surprised.
They were very gracious and open to new ideas. They have 4 carbons in here, and the carbons it's a great company, brilliant company, great printers. They do what they do well, but they're also kind of geared towards production and not geared towards high-end process. And I'm happy to have that conversation with anyone who wants to. But so Utah Valley actually brought us in, and they brought our resin in so we could actually provide what their high-end ceramists need as far as resin and as far as resolution and detail. We kind of support printers, so to speak. So we have about 6 of our printers in here and our wash units, and they're running side by side with the carbons. And so the carbons are handling their classic department workflow and kind of the heavy lifting stuff. And all of our stuff is handling the high resolution, the high end, the ceramic side.
Wow.
So we've been working on that back and forth. And I've been working with them, and kind of helping them out for the past year, Cody and I. And they had an opening here, and they thought, what if we talk to Jed about maybe coming in and just essentially seeing if there's ways we can help each other out and see if there's ways they can improve. One thing as an organization grows, the things that you inevitably will be challenged with is you get to a certain size and you start to feel like you need to protect your business instead of being aggressive.
Right.
That's usually issue 1, right? And issue 2 is to be efficient, you have to kind of silo people and have these different departments. That's what you have to do for efficiency. And the downsides of that is you put yourself at risk of being a little stagnant, and you put yourself at risk of departments losing communication or losing touch with each other, which causes a lot of inefficiencies, and or just unhappiness at your work sometimes, right? Like if you're having to work with other people but you don't see eye to eye, that's not always that fun. And so where I'm someone who is a classic trained technician and a little bit of a jack of all trades, and also I understand the digital side, I can kind of come in and help people wherever they are, no matter where they are. I'm here as director of development, essentially. And so I'm going to be able to take everyone, every team here kind of has a little bit of an apprentice type model, but I'm going to be able to take those apprentices and essentially supercharge that process and accelerate them and get them into the working space probably quite a bit faster than the current process, all while kind of staying my own little individual.
It sounds exactly
system.
Like your personality.
Yeah. So we're kind of we're going after a little bit of the Ford philosophy where if Utah Valley is Henry Ford, I would be essentially Carroll Shelby. So all the crazy, weird ideas that people have can be vetted out and tested by me and my team here without disrupting production, right? You don't want to disrupt the great things you have going on because they have a great system. They have on average, about 150 cases going out a day. And so you don't want to disrupt that. But at the same time, you want to stay relevant. You want to stay innovative. And so you almost need like a little department of crazy people who you can ask. Right?
Yep.
They had a void in management and they thought, you know what, rather than bring in another manager, what if we kind of start this little crazy department idea?
Wow.
And they reached out to me and I'm like, you know what? I am not afraid of change or challenges. And it kind of felt like something that would be fun for me to explore and jump into. And so I was actually pleasantly surprised because I kind of felt like it would be something that would maybe be a little too scary or too risky.
Well, good for you, man.
Usually the topic that I get whenever discussions about working with Jed come in.
Yeah.
But these guys were like, you know what? Let's give it a go. This might be fun. And so I'm actually really happy. So I've been here really just like a couple days.
Oh my God, really? That new, huh?
Literally that new.
Yeah,
literally that new.
Crazy.
So it's a brand new development, happened really fast. It was very surprising, but so far I'm actually very excited about it.
Wow. Well, good luck to you guys.
Well, it's a perfect
we're fans.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, exactly.
Their love for education, your love for education. It's amazing what y'all are going to accomplish moving forward. But
well, check back with me after the honeymoon phase is over, and
you know we will.
Oh yeah.
They all will share their honest opinions about me at that point, and we'll see. And it might be the conversation. Oh yeah, that crazy idiot. We let him go long ago. But and that's fine. Because I'll be fine wherever I land. I can always do teeth, and like I said, I always have my place, and we'll be all right.
Well, good for you.
Jed, this is amazing stuff, man. We always love talking to you. We're so happy we finally got you on by yourself.
Yep.
And what you're doing, it's just amazing stuff.
I'm really happy that I qualified to be on by myself. So I feel honored. I feel honored to be part of the crew that get to go solo. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jed. And of course, I'm sure we'll see you at the next show. And
yes, we will.
All the great things you'll be doing with Utah Valley. So thanks a lot, man.
I'm excited too. Thank you so much. I really do. I mean, my hat's off and hearts out to you guys because I love people. I mean, in like the NADL, I love people that try to get us technicians together and rally us together. Most of us are in our little rooms or little offices.
Yes,
we all have our headphones on, and so many of us feel like we're kind of alone in this business.
Yep.
And you guys do a great job of kind of bringing us together, making us feel like we're part of a family. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
it. Well, thanks, Jed. We will talk to you next time.
Yep.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Till next time.
A huge thanks to Jed for coming on our podcast and talking all about what you do and more importantly, how you do it. We owe his whole family a whole lot for what we are doing in dentistry today. And it's great to see that he's continuing into the next generation of technology. I agree, actually. Some cases, Empress just works. And yes, Elvis, Ivoclar still sells it.
I really thought it was dead. I didn't know.
No, that was cool, though. I do some. I was serious when I said I still do some. And it's very pretty. Check out this episode's show notes to a link and also a link to check out some of Jed's printable resins that can make your whole lab smell amazing.
Lavender.
Like it.
All right, everybody. That's all we got for you, and we will talk to you next week.
See ya. Have a great week. Hey, welcome to October. Let's do it.
Holy shit.
Let's welcome to Sucktober.
How about Bedder October?
How about pumpkins and Halloween and vacations for Barbara?
Busy October.
No doubt. Get it in, get it out, rawhide.
Okay. The views and opinions expressed on the Voices from the Bench podcast are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the host or Voices from the Bench, LLC.